Back to Cowboys Commanders
leagues,
here.
I should say.
And Cooper Rush, Matthew. I'm sorry I have to toss this one to you.
Let Jay talk about Cooper Rush.
You want to talk about Cooper? Top 10 quarterback Cooper Rush?
Top 10
quarterback.
Jay?
What do you need?
He was solid. Cooper Rush thought he did well. Did enough to win the football game in Washington.
You guys talk about the rest of this game. I'm just going to, you don't mind me, I'm going to check my texts.
I think the key with Rush is that he just showed an ability that he can get the ball to CeeDee Lamb. He could get the ball to Schoonmaker as well. But overall, I think that there was a fear after how Rush had looked in those first two games. So maybe this just isn't viable at all and this whole offense is going to sink. He looked more like the guy that he did a couple of years ago when he filled in competently for Dak Prescott. So I think the main takeaway here is just that CeeDee Lamb, you fire him up every week, he's going to be a top 5 wide receiver also. And then Schoonmaker as well, who only has the 4 targets, but he catches the touchdown, to be fair, off a broken coverage. But he is going to be viable as well with Jake Ferguson out. Commander's side of the ball. Do you think there's something wrong with Jayden Daniels at the moment, Connor?
I just wonder if the rib injury has kind of lingered throughout the year where he doesn't want to get hit there or maybe he's uncomfortable because obviously he has a very fantasy-relevant game, Jayden Daniels. He's QB1 right now going into Monday Night Football. But from a football aspect, he still didn't look like the guy that was basically taking over the league the first 6 weeks of the season.
I mean, it's amazing. Like, it felt like he had a bad game, and he is the second top fantasy performer.
Yeah,
after
but I mean, that's all like.
I mean, it was a 90-yard touchdown with 15 seconds to go.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They really inflated his numbers. He runs. I mean, he had the touchdown run. He had over 70 yards rushing, and including a rushing touchdown. So that really boosted him as well. But yeah, the numbers don't tell the story. He didn't look great for much of this game. Now, credit the Cowboys defense. Listen, Micah's back. I mean, I know he's been back, but the Cowboys defense looked like the Cowboys. I know that was just a 2-shot here, but I was literally checking my text because I was so annoyed. But fine, I'll talk about this game. I just, I don't know that they're home to Tennessee, then they've got a bye, then they're at New Orleans, then they're home to Philadelphia. It gets, this is. They needed to win this game, and they needed to win. They definitely need to beat the Titans next week.
They lost this game,
look at this. Look at this schedule. I mean, and they got to beat the Saints in Week 15 because the end of the season, home to the Eagles, home to the Falcons, at the Cowboys. Eagles and I mean, those last 3 are no gimmies. I mean, I would say you feel good about the Cowboys, but how can you feel good about the Cowboys? They just beat us. So. It doesn't feel good. If the playoffs started today, they would be the 7th seed. They would be in the playoffs. But tough road to hoe coming up for the Commanders, including a game against a red-hot, all of a sudden, Titans team. So they gotta get it figured out. I think fantasy-wise for Jayden Daniels, though, the rushing it was nice to see. All right, I mean, the 90-yard touchdown McLaurin's a crazy play. But still, he'd had a decent fantasy day up until that point. It inflated it up to, kind of crazy numbers here. But it was positive to at least see that he was getting back to the running because that was the issue in the previous 2 games against the Steelers and the Eagles is that he just wasn't running.
Right. He thought he might have been compromised by the injury, and obviously he was back to that version of himself in this one.
Also, by the way, the other issue here is that he had to run it because no one else could. Brian Robinson gets injured in this game, comes back, leaves again. Austin Eckler, just an awful, awful hit. He's in concussion protocol. Taking that. I mean, it was just that one looked bad as well. We'll talk about this more tomorrow on the waiver show, but it looks like if those guys can't get healthy for Tennessee, it'll be Jeremy McNichols and Cris Rodriguez for the Commanders in the backfield.
Vikings-Bears, a bit of a thriller here, guys, at Chicago. Bears
Can I just mention real quickly, before we move off of this game, and then I know we've talked about it a lot, but Cooper Rush has 5 career games against Washington. J.P. Finley, our friend at NBC in Washington, tweeted this out. Cooper Rush has 5 career games against Washington. He's 4-1. Against us. He completes 66% of his passes. He's got 5 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. He's got 117 passer rating. Hail the Commanders, hail victory.
Cooper Rush, the Commanders' kryptonite.
Commanders,
who
would have thought? Before we move off the Cowboys, I just think it's important. Rico Dowdle, 22 touches in this one, gets 98 yards from scrimmage. Clearly, he's a starting running back.
He's the guy.
He's a starting running back and a viable RB2 moving forward. And as long as Jake Ferguson is out, it's nice to see Luke Schoonmaker. Luke Schoonmaker was my desperation play on Fantasy Football pregame. Why did I have to be right? Why couldn't I have been wrong? But I wasn't. Sadly, Luke Schoonmaker, 3 for 55 and a touchdown. He now has back-to-back games with 11 or more fantasy points. Busted coverage on the touchdown, but counts all the same. The Commanders and their fans, and by their fans I mean me, have some soul searching to do this week.
All right, we move over to the Vikings-Bears, which was
I'm down bad.
Headline.
Jay.
You'll get over it.
I'm
That's
down
all right.
bad. I don't think I
See.
will.
Yeah, no clowning.
We'll see.
I'm down bad.
Titans are pesky. You should be nervous.
So you're five.
I'm super nervous.
Will Levis is playing better.
Will Levis is playing great.
It was a bad interception.
He got sacked 8 times.
Will Levis is
The bar was low, but he's playing better.
He's absolutely playing better. It was a nice win for Tennessee, and we'll talk about him tomorrow on waivers. Like, Will Levis has strung together like 3 good fantasy days.
Sure.
Like fantasy. I think I saw this. I think JP Finley also tweeted this out, but I think the look ahead line at the beginning of the season, I think, was Titans like 7.5. And now it's like, it's
Is
like,
it pick?
Yeah, no, I think it's
Commanders
like 5.5. Yeah. But like, I thought it was might be. No, the look ahead line last week.
Yes.
Before was 7.5. Commanders by 7.5.
Yeah, and so that's a big move through 7. That's basically like a 3.5 point move when you factor in the value of 7.
Correct.
So yeah, you got to downgrade the Commanders a fair bit after that debacle.
Yeah, it's awful. I'm super nervous about that. I don't think we win.
I think you do, but it could be ugly.
All right, we'll see.
Hey, it's Matthew Berry from NBCSports.com and RotoWorld.com, and I want to thank you so much for watching whatever it is you just watched, or if nothing else, being too lazy to click out of the autoplay after this video started, after whatever it is you actually wanted to watch finished. But now that you're here, I'd like to take a moment here to ask you respectfully now, okay? I'm asking you respectfully to subscribe to the NFL on NBC YouTube channel. You'll get the latest RotoWorld fantasy news headlines, all sorts of great shows, including my own Fantasy Football Happy Hour. So go subscribe now. Again, I'm asking respectfully.